Okay, so this Java tutorial video series is designed to help students in either the Intro to Java course or the AP Computer Science A course learn how to integrate Git and GitHub account repositories into a Eclipse Java project. This is going to be the breakdown of topics we're going to cover. 1, how do we download classroom assignments from a GitHub Classroom repository? 2, how do we create Eclipse IDE projects? 3, add GitHub repositories to an Eclipse project. 4, add some Java code to our Java class. 5, save our local code to our local repository. And 6, how do we push our saved and staged code to our GitHub remote? Well, my students know that I'm going to provide them the links to the project repositories on our GitHub Classroom on our Google Classroom. So if they click on the link, it will take them to a page that looks similar to this one, and then they will have a green button somewhere in this area that says accept this assignment. Accepting an assignment ties it to their GitHub accounts, creates a copy of the assignment, and provides them any sample files or required files that I deem necessary for them. Once the repository on their GitHub account has been created, this link will appear. Once they click on the link, they will see whatever files I've given them in the repository, or in this case that I've given them no starter files, and this project will be completed completely from scratch. So what we need to do, we need to go over here and choose to clone this repository so that we can make a local instance of it on our desktop. I'm going to switch back over to our IDE of choice, Eclipse, and I'm going to make sure that I have the right repository available to my GitHub project. So I'm going to go down here and say, hey, I want to clone an online Git repository and then eventually tie it to a local project on my computer. So since we just recently copied the location to our Windows or Mac OS or Linux clipboard, Eclipse has already discovered that copy, and it is already typed or transferred those links in there. You will need to type in your GitHub username and password. Now again, the username is not the same as the email address. It could be the same as the user part of the email address or the prefix before the @ symbol, or you could have come up with something completely different. Look at your GitHub account and you'll discover what your username is. Once we press next, it's going to discover any branches that were on the remote repository. We have only one branch available since this is an individual assignment, and I have not yet taught my students how to work in isolation on separate branches. Press next, and it's going to give you an error saying, hey, maybe an error, saying the folder that it thinks it needs to go to is empty. So take a minute and make sure that you have an empty folder in which this local Git repository can be saved. Okay, so I have a new location. I will press finish. And what that is done simply is just add our online repository to our local computer in the folder that we chose for it to go to. Really, it has not permanently made any kind of link to the online GitHub repository. That is going to happen in the process of pushing and pulling and fetching and staging code. So for right now, we just have this available if we want to connect a new project to it. I'm going to go to the File menu and create a new Java project. This particular application is asking my students to make a program that will spit out their spring semester schedule. So I'll call it Spring App. Press Finish. I'm just going to give it a basic class for the purposes of this tutorial that will have some code that will be put onto a GitHub repository. So I'm going to say class. I'm going to call it Spring App. I tell my advanced students to check public static void main so they don't have to type it. And what does it say here? It says type already exists. So let's go through. Okay, there we go. I'm going to go through, and it's because I already had that Java file in there from my previous example, so I'm just going to take that one out so I don't confuse anybody. So there it is. Now, we're not going to go through and talk about how to make the Java application. That in itself is another video. But we now have code in our Java class, and we are ready to now tie our project to our GitHub repository. So I'm going to right click on my application folder in Eclipse and look for the option that says Team, Share Project. If you do not have these repository folders down here or the Git staging for Git, all of these can be found under the window menu, show view, other. If you go in here, you can hold down control and select both of the two options that are necessary for this tutorial. Again, I'll repeat, right click on Spring App, team, share project, and you should be able to now connect to one of the repositories you have available. So make sure you choose the right one. You may get an error that looks like this one: cannot move project Spring App to target location, as this location overlaps with the location on the desktop which contains a project file. So we're going to have to do some rearranging here if this error comes up. Okay, in my case, the problem I had is on my desktop I had a .project file from an older Java project that was causing a problem. So I'm going to now press finish, and you will notice, if you look carefully here, and I'll zoom in to show you, that up here in this area you will see these little canisters, or these little gold cylinders. These gold cylinders are indicating that this Eclipse project on this physical computer is now tied to an online GitHub repository. So what we're going to do is now stage these files and commit them so that they can be put up on our GitHub repository. So how we do this? Well, since this is our first commit, I'm going to choose to commit everything in this project called library so that it's all backed up. In the future, once I've done this initial commit, then I can just choose to upload just the Java files that I've been working on. So for now, since this is our first commit, we're going to right click on the project folder and say team, and we are going to look for the option that says, let me find it here, we have commit. Let me get out of zoom mode here for a second. Okay, so now that I have added some code in here, and I went to file and save, it's now going to tell me that I have an unstaged file. So what I can do is I can right click on my project and say team add to index, and what that's going to do is it's going to add the entire list of files to a potential index that could be committed to a GitHub repository. So I'm going to say for now add that to the index. You will see it will show all of these files are staged. I told students using a baseball analogy that staged files are similar to files, baseball players that are in an on-deck circle waiting to come to the plate. Or maybe an example would be passengers waiting in the lobby waiting to embark on a plane. They're all waiting, they're not ready for liftoff or for takeoff. So you can make multiple commits and get them ready, and when you're ultimately ready, you are ready to both commit and push the files onto your GitHub repository. You're going to see the terms push and pull. Think about a door handle. Pushing files, like pushing a door handle, is making things go away from you, or in our case, pushing our files is taking our files and taking a copy from our local repository and putting them onto our online GitHub repository, whereas pulling is bringing them from the GitHub repository down to the local repository. So we're going to commit and push them to GitHub. You're going to require a commit message, and the commit message is just a way for you to leave a note either to yourself or to team collaborators as to the reason why you made this update to these file or files. So I'm going to say initial commit plus added a comment, which is what I did here on line 7. Commit and push. It's going to ask me for my GitHub credentials. You type these carefully. If not, you can think things are incorrect with GitHub when they work perfectly fine. It's going to say pushing to remote repositories, and then right here pushed past tense, meaning it did go to the repository online. It gives me a confirmation code here. It even tells me the reason why I did it here, and tells me what repository it went to. So now if I were to switch over to my GitHub account, and many students say, well, I didn't see any changes here. Well, GitHub's webpage is not that dynamic. It's going to require you to press refresh to see the files have been committed. There is my message I posted just a second ago as to why I updated these files. If I go into here, I should see all of my project files that I see in Eclipse. I can go to my source folder to find my Java file, and there's the exact code I had just a second ago. So this is the process of setting up Eclipse, learning how to let me get the right note up there. Learning how to download a classroom assignment from a repository, create Eclipse IDE project, add GitHub repository to an Eclipse project, add some code to Java, save your file, and then push and save your files online.